Ben Solo falls to the dark side, creates his lightsaber. We have Padme and Darth Vader teaming up. Plus, we get this awesome team up of bounty hunters, all in this week's episode of Star Wars Weekly. Hello, fellow Star Wars fans. It is Star Raptor, and I'm so happy you could join me for another episode where I talk about all things Star Wars comics, novels, TV series, and more. This week, it's all about the Marvel Comics. We have a banner week for comics because first up, the long-awaited conclusion to this epic 4-part miniseries, we have issue number 4 of Star Wars, The Rise of Kylo Ren, written by Charles Soule with artwork by Will Sliney, and these guys have hit it out of the park. They stuck the landing with this final issue. 4 very solid issues, bringing this epic origin story of Ben to Ren, as Charles Soule likes to put it, to a thrilling end. And man, this was one heck of a story. If you guys have not picked this up and read it yourself, please go to the store if you can find it, because it's selling out. Every single issue is sold out, and for good reason. So the story we pick up with Ben. He's with the Knights of Ren, and he still has to prove himself to the Knights of Ren. And, well, they are on Minban. Yes, they go to Minban, as in Solo, that location. We see those aliens in Solo. They're there. And apparently these Knights of Ren are trying to look for this item called the Mind Splinter. So that's their mission. Kylo is there with them to help give them support. We see Kylo Ren actually using that Force Mind Probe that he had never used on anybody before. Snoke taught him that skill. So we see a little bit of development there with Ben. And not soon after the Knights of Ren and Ben get to this location where this item is, we have those Jedi that were from Luke's Academy showing up. We have Vo and we have Ty. Remember, the previous Jedi got killed inadvertently by Ben. So they're trying to confront Ben. So we have Ty going up against Ben Solo. And then we have Vo going up against the Knights of Ren. She's very confident in her abilities. Although Ren, the leader of the Knights of Ren, is thinking that she's just a pawn. Yeah, Skywalker's student, and she's a student, and that's all. So it's really neat because we're getting this comparison between two battles going on just like in epic Star Wars fashion, right? The climax for most Star Wars films, you have multiple arcs going on at the same time. I got that feel. This last issue really gave me that feel of just the adrenaline rush going between that confrontation, which is a lot more of a bond between Ty and Ben, and we're getting a lot of those similarities between the Rise of Skywalker, where we have, Rey trying to turn Ben to the light side, and here we have Ty trying to turn Ben back to the light side. He's kind of teetering on the edge, and what I really like to know about this is that the dark side and the light side have claimed him from the moment he was born, right? He has that lineage in him, that bloodline between Vader, but also of Luke, who's the ultimate good in the galaxy, and which one is going to win over. And what we see in this one, which one wins over. And it's so tragic to me. This whole story of Ben just being teetering on the edge of between light and dark. And we see that Ty gets his neck snapped by the Master of Ren, right? He's going at it against Ben, and he triggers Ben to turn to the dark side. And in doing so, he's goaded at the same time by, now that we know Snoke is really being puppeteered by Palpatine, who shows up in this, which was mind-blowing. This whole page where you see Ren versing Ben plummeting through this lightning-filled chasm. I'm guessing the Emperor was doing something there, maybe. And the whole time you're getting Leia, who's sensing that Ben is turning to the dark side. So sad to see that. You see actually a young Rey who's feeling cold on Jakku next to Unkar Plutt. So lots of really cool tie-ins. And, well, Ben turns on him. And that's the one good kill, is Ben kills Ren. Very, very interesting, because the whole time he's actually fighting with the lightsaber of Ty as well. He's dual wielding, which I want to see more in Star Wars. Just like his grandfather, Anakin, at one point during Attack of the Clones versus Dooku, we see Ben doing the same thing. And, well, Ben actually executes a Jedi. He does. He kills Vo, which was just very shocking, because after he kills Ren, Vo walks up and is like, yeah, you did it, you killed him, and then Ben just says, enough of you, and kills her. And it was just a shocking moment, but it has to do with the turning of Ben. It was a shocking thing. Leia felt it, Rey felt it. There was that moment he just turned to the dark side, and from that moment, there's really no going back until the Rise of Skywalker, and we all seen what happens there. And to see him create his lightsaber was just such a satisfying moment for me, to see him bleed the crystal just like his grandfather did and actually have it shatter. We know why his crossguard lightsaber looks the same. He crushed his own blue crystal, and the time he's doing that, looking very buff by the way, he's been working on his pecs quite a bit. He sees the visions of all the people he hates in that moment. He hates his mother. He hates Luke. He hates everybody that has touched him in some way. He hates Ty. He hates his father, Han Solo, Chewbacca. I mean, how could he hate Chewbacca so much? I don't understand that. But we see the crystal crack, and then the exhaust of the heat not being dissipated. He has to create the quintuplets or whatever they're called. And there we go. We get Palpatine talking to him, asking him what his name is, and that is where the story ends. So, wow, we got the transformation from Ben Solo to Kylo Ren. This is a must-read story, and this is just the first part. I'm thinking hopefully in the future we're going to get the story of how he goes from here into being one of the top people in the First Order, because we do know there was some communication between Snoke and Brendol Hux, who was in charge of the stormtroopers and all that, with the program. So this is still like 5 years before The Force Awakens. So I really would love to see Will Sliney and Charles Soule, even though I know Charles Soule is very busy with Project Luminous. I would love to see those two guys get together and create sort of like a sequel to this, another miniseries of just how Ben becomes acclimated into the First Order, how he even learns about the First Order, because at this point he has no idea. But I don't want to get too far ahead, because I just want to point out how awesome this issue felt to me. When I was reading this issue, I was in a public place reading this issue, and I could not help about exclaiming out, like, oh, or gasping out loud. And I'm sure the guy next to me was probably saying, what the hell is this guy doing? But I couldn't help it, because comics, when they are this good, this powerful, I just love being engaged. And that's what all it's about for Star Wars for me, is those revelations, those shocking things like Palpatine showing up, like Ben just stabbing Vo, all these things that just create Kylo Ren. And it really made that transition between Ben to Ren. So if you guys have not picked up The Rise of Kylo Ren, go ahead and order it on Amazon, a trade paperback. They're going to make second printings, and they have second printings of like every issue. If you can't find them at your local comic book store, just put in a special order, and they'll help you with that. But very awesome stuff. Next up is a story that I didn't know we would get, but I'm very happy that we have it, and that is Bounty Hunters. This is a brand new series. It's an ongoing series set between the events of The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. So in this first arc, which is called Galaxy's Deadliest, we have Boba Fett, we have Valance the Hunter, and we have Bossk, all on this mission. So we open up in this issue where all three of these characters are actually working together. This is in the past, several years before the events of The Empire Strikes Back. They're on Corellia, which is really cool because, again, just like Kylo Ren, they go back to another previous planet in a different era that we've seen it in before. Again, this is another Solo planet, so it's kind of funny how all these things are connecting to Solo planets. We do know that Lady Proxima is still around, but there's also a different kind of syndicate called the Morning Whale Syndicate. And what's happening is that these characters, these bounty hunters, are working for this person that wants to get revenge on somebody. So this person hires these bounty hunters, and we have this one lead character, this female Nautilin, who is the leader of this bunch of bounty hunters. And, well, they do a pretty good job. We see Boba Fett, like, literally igniting somebody on fire with his flamethrower. That's our first appearance of Boba Fett, is him just igniting somebody and burning him alive, which is pretty freaking badass if you don't ask me for an entrance. We also see Valance the Hunter pointing to work his flaming hand type gadget, and you see Bossk just slicing people up with a sword. So, pretty good first appearances by all the bounty hunters. But the job does get botched pretty bad, because I guess there's a turn of events, and the leader, this female Nautilin, ends up killing the person that hired them after not agreeing with what this person was doing. We don't get the perspective of why she reacted that way, and it seems like it's going to unfold like more about this flashback as we go through this series. But we then go back into the future, and all these bounty hunters basically got crossed by this person, this female Nautilin. So now the rest of this issue is about wrangling up these three people that had been wronged by this leader bounty hunter. And now they're gonna go get revenge on her. So we have Valance the Hunter picks up. He's at the Black Spire outpost on Batuu. Of course, that would be in there because it's written by Ethan Sachs, who has written the whole miniseries revolved around Galaxy's Edge, so he's gonna put that little in there, the little seed in there. It is really cool, that whole thing with Valance the Hunter and using part of a moisture evaporator as a sort of lance as the land speeder comes through, jabs it into the guy. Really appreciated that. We also catch up on Burning Khan, which is another really exciting reveal of a location, because for those of you that had played the Star Wars mobile game, Star Wars Uprising, around the time in 2015 before the movie came out, Force Awakens, we had this little mobile game, and Burning Khan was a level I went through several times to rank up and level up my characters. There's a cantina, and we have Bossk just chilling out, and guess who shows up? Dr. Aphra and Black Krrsantan. We know that Dr. Aphra is getting her own series next month, starting ongoing again, but it is nice to see her once again. It's been a few months since we've seen her series end, and she's just chilling, and she offers that Bossk, offers advice about this previous person that wronged him. And so we see a fight break out, of course, because we know the relationships between the Trandoshans and the Wookiees are not on the best terms. And, well, there's a big fight that goes down. I really like that. And we catch up with Boba Fett, who is just flying around on Slave One, and he gets a call from this other bounty hunter saying, look, there's a really good job for you. And he's saying, it's not worth my time, whatever. But then when they mention that it's the person that crossed him years ago, that female Nautilin bounty hunter, he knows that he's got to go. Even though he has Han Solo and Carbonite leaving Cloud City, he's still got to go. That's how much of a grudge that Boba holds against his female Nautilin. So again, I'm sure we're going to learn more about why he reacts so strongly to that. But overall, this is a great issue because it shows a lot of action. I love the artwork by Villanelli. Hoping I pronounced that name. They did the artwork on the Jedi Fallen Order miniseries, which is very excellent. They use a lot of kinetic action throughout the artwork, and again, showcases just brilliant colors by the colorist on here. A solid story, and I'm looking forward to issue number 2, which we're going to get very soon. It's coming out at the end of this month. And finally, but certainly not least, we have Darth Vader issue number 2. So this is volume 3 of Darth Vader. If you guys are not aware, we have this one set in between the events of The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. So in that first issue, it was all about Darth Vader hunting down the people that were responsible for being an influence in Luke Skywalker's life, basically. So that leads Darth Vader to try to find what happened with Padme Amidala. Remember, he literally didn't have any kind of inkling of what happened to her other than that she died, right? Emperor said, you killed her. So he's trying to find some relation to her. And at the end of the last issue, it's a huge shocker. He runs into Padme Amidala, or at least he thinks it's Padme Amidala, because throughout this issue, we find out that it's actually Sabe, and I guess this last time in issue number 1, it's the handmaiden that survived all through the Phantom Menace. If you guys have read Queen's Shadow, which I'd say read it, go ahead and read it, especially if you want to know what happens with her and that, it's actually her. So it's really cool. They even mention the robot, Zed, his name is, the droid that's like the investigator with Darth Vader. He mentions, oh, it's the Queen's Shadow. So they literally mention the book in real time in the actual comic. I thought that was pretty interesting. But anyway, this whole story revolves around Darth Vader making a deal with Sabe and saying, look, I know you want revenge on who killed her. Obviously, he's not going to say it was him. So she says, okay, let me work with you, because Vader's trying to track down the whereabouts. And believe it or not, she's going to say okay, because, well, she tried to kill Vader on multiple occasions in this issue. First by shooting him, then by letting out these creatures. Obviously, he can't be defeated. She's got to give in, and it's a little bit beneficial for her. So he's going to actually team up with Sabe. But the entire time throughout this issue, we have these really awesome flashbacks to the prequels of Anakin just remembering his time with Padme and being very sentimental. And what is so cool about this issue is this is almost like a what-if scenario if Vader actually converted Padme to joining the Empire. It's almost like that's how she would react, because we know that Sabe on many levels is, obviously physically very similar to Padme, but maybe she sort of thinks like that as well. But she definitely takes charge, because at one point she is ready to leave the planet and literally orders Vader to leave with her on the shuttle. And then even the droid chimed in and was like, whoa, were we taking orders from her now? Because she's a rebel. She's leading these rebel soldiers, these Gungans and different things. Remember, she was recruited by Bail Organa at the end of the Queen Shadow's epilogue, right? So we know that she's been working in that capacity for several years now. So to see all that happening is super cool. And I didn't expect this comic series to go in this direction. And to me, it's very exciting that we're getting the continuation of a story for a character that was in a young adult novel, right? E.K. Johnson wrote that novel, but she's kind of handing over Sabe to Greg Pak, the writer of this issue, to say, hey, go take her in a more mature level, because that's not what I write. I write, young adult, not mature stuff. So it's just a blast seeing those what if scenarios again of Vader, literally fighting side by side with a Padme lookalike. She's got the blaster. She's a really good shot. They're killing these indigenous creatures that are just like basically land squids, I think they call them. So really cool stuff there. And they're going to Naboo. That's where the recordings are. That's where Padme is buried. So we're going to take a long road down memory lane there. And it's going to be quite intriguing from what I could gather. So next week we could look forward to Star Wars issue number 4, as well as Star Wars Adventures issue number 31. So what did you guys think about this week's comics? What did you think about the ending of the Rise of Kylo Ren? What about the start to Bounty Hunters? And how are you feeling about the big reveal of Padme actually being Sabe, which a lot of people probably have forgot about? Let's talk about it all in the comment section down below. If you guys are new to the channel, welcome. I talk about Star Wars all the darn time, and I've been doing my weekly Clone Wars reviews, and I just put up earlier in the week a video about the lightsaber designs in the High Republic. So if you're excited about the High Republic, I'm trying to put out as many videos as possible from here until the release of The Light of the Jedi in August. There we go. In August it's coming out. So make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you want to keep up to date on all that content. That's going to do it for me, Star Wars. Thank you so much for watching, and may the Force be with you always. Thanks for checking out the video. Please hit that thumbs up symbol. It helps me know that I'm making content that you guys enjoy. And if you enjoyed this video, I also included 2 videos down below you guys should check out. And please consider subscribing to this channel. It helps support me, and it notifies you guys of when I get new videos up on the channel. You can also contact me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at StarRaptor.